In January, the Motor Vehicle Department asked a Californian to take his license plate off his car because it said, "For Jihad." He didn't. It turned out Jihad was his name. The car was a gift, and that Jihad meant struggle. The department didn't press. The neighbor who complained apologized. In March, 2 American sailors were charged with plotting sabotage and mutiny in sympathy with Saddam Hussein. They had been seen in Muslim prayer the night the war started. In May, the charges were dropped. The war in the Gulf put Islam on the mind. In the Muslim world, where Muslims declared holy war against each other. In the Western world, where the distinction between Arab and Muslim was news, and the difference between Muslims were discoveries. They were rediscoveries of this country's fastest growing religion. Beginning tonight and through next week, World Monitor will visit Islam, the second largest religion in the world, a community, a movement, a way of living. Beginning tonight with the time of an earlier struggle when Islam could not be ignored. Our reporter is Lindsay Miller.
If you say the words black Muslims to white Americans who remember the 60s, this may be the image that comes to mind. It was an angry era. A time of racial tension and division. Along with slogans about black power, some people were using the religious language of Islam.
Assalamu alaikum. Greet my brothers and sisters in our original language, which is the Arabic language, which means may peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.
The organization known as the Nation of Islam had been around since the 1930s, but it gained widespread attention in 1967 when a young boxer refused to be inducted into the U.S. Army. He said it was against the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to fight in a white man's war. He said he would give up the title of heavyweight champion of the world rather than go against the teachings of the Nation of Islam.
I know that there are many people who've been following my image and my little name in the sports world for the past 15 years now. When I was Cassius Clay, I could not talk. When I was Cassius Clay, I was just a, we might say, Uncle Tom, so-called Negro, looking one day to be married to a nice white blonde, living in the hills in California with the rest of the brothers that I know that up there today. Now that I've accepted the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the beautiful name that he has given me, Muhammad Ali, I now have a wise teacher and a wise guide.
A lot has happened to Muhammad Ali and to the Nation of Islam. Ali now has an illness related to Parkinson's disease, but he continues to travel around the country to Muslim events. Like most African American Muslims, he has rejected the racial teachings of the Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad had taught that the white man is the devil and the black man God. This is totally at odds with Orthodox Islam. For mainstream Muslims, Allah is the God of all races, all people. And today, the majority of black American Muslims consider themselves part of the worldwide community of Islam. Muhammad Ali was in Fayetteville to honor one of the first black Muslims in America.
We're here to honor the life and legacy of Omar ibn Sayyid, the Muslim slave who, just a few years ago, was brought to this country from his homeland. He was brought here in chains and enslaved. He was a free man at home, came here in chains. we think it's important.
Historians estimate that 1 in 10 of the slaves brought to this country from West Africa were Muslim. The names of most of them are lost, but in Fayetteville, one remarkable Muslim is remembered.
The mayor saw fit to give us this fine proclamation.
Adam Bia is the imam or leader of the local Muslim community.
Whereas Omar ibn Sayyid was an Arabic scholar, a teacher, and a devout follower of the Islamic faith. Very important. Whereas Omar ibn Sayyid was the only African slave to write an autobiography, his life story, in an African language. Whereas during the war in 1807, Omar ibn Sayyid was captured, shipped to Charleston, South Carolina, and sold into slavery.
Ironically, the imam said 1807 was the last year that slaves were legally shipped from Africa to America.
Right in America. But he was a slave? Yeah. He was a slave. Yeah, I remember.
Omar grew up in the Senegambian region of West Africa, where Islam has been practiced since the 13th century. As a boy, he learned to read and write Arabic because Arabic is the language of the Holy Quran. His own copy of the Quran is lost, but a Bible that a slave master gave him, a Bible in Arabic, was on special exhibit in Fayetteville. Among the slaves, Islam died out after a generation or two. The religion was all but forgotten by African Americans until this century. Now, with the return to Orthodox Islam, things have come full circle. 4 years ago, the Muslims of Fayetteville built their own masjid, or mosque, and they named it after Omar ibn Sayyid. The Presbyterian Church has a claim on him, too.
He joined the church here. It seems that the Owen family were members of this church, and Omar was also a member of this church also.
Omar went to church with his slave master, but the imam says Omar never rejected Islam. In the pages of Omar's Bible were found a translation of the 23rd Psalm into Arabic.
In the top of the 23rd Psalm, there's written in Arabic, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which means with the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful.
In the name of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and in the name of his last, his greatest messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Salam Alaikum. Today we would like to inform the world that there is no leadership crisis in the nation of Islam.
But there was a crisis in 1975. Elijah Muhammad, who set the nation's tone and philosophy, was dead.
And the nation of Islam had chosen Minister Wallace D. Muhammad as the spiritual and administrative leader of the nation of Islam.
But W.D. Muhammad was never comfortable with his father's views. Eventually, he renounced the Nation of Islam. He urged his followers to come with him to the universal community of Islam, and most have. Minister Louis Farrakhan leads those who remain. In Fayetteville, for years, many blacks refused to visit the central landmark in town. Market Square was once a place for selling goods, including human beings.
Our forefathers was bought and sold at this building. And it seemed that we were locked out of this. But now we have the key. Now the doors are open. Now it's our house. We own it. It's time for us to take our rightful place in this society.
And so, the Muslims of Fayetteville named their march From Slavery to Freedom. And they set out on a symbolic walk from Market Square to the masjid named for Omar ibn Sayyid. For World Monitor, I'm Lindsay Miller in Fayetteville, North Carolina.